So it is known that some substances, be it acid, base, salt, when exposed to the atmosphere, lose moisture, while others, when exposed to the atmosphere, will absorb moisture from the atmosphere. And those ones that absorb moisture from the atmosphere, and then something may happen in the process. What are these phenomena called? Substances that show this behavior, how are they called? And what are some examples of these substances? This is JMAT 41. You are welcome to this channel of excellence. So in this short lesson, I would like us to give attention to the following phenomena: efflorescence, hygroscopy, deliquescence. We're also going to give attention to efflorescent substances, deliquescent substances, and hygroscopic substances with their examples. If you are sitting for JAM, for WAEC, you are in grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, 100 level, please. See this channel, JMAT 41 is a channel you want to always tune into, and make sure you sleep on this channel, okay? Yeah, for your excellent results, high points, 300 and above in your JAM, and for your A splashes, okay? So you're welcome. Let's get to business. What is efflorescence? Efflorescence is a phenomenon whereby a substance, when exposed to the atmosphere, loses some or all of its water of crystallization. It means that it's a phenomenon that leads to a substance giving off, its moisture content. That we refer to as what? Efflorescence. Once again, efflorescence is a phenomenon whereby a substance, when exposed to the atmosphere, loses some or all of its water of crystallization. Now, I want to tell you something. Mostly, substances that lose their water of crystallization have been found to be salts, chemical salts. Okay? Yeah. Now we have explained the concept of efflorescence. A substance that undergoes that phenomenon is known as what? It's known as efflorescent substance. It's known as efflorescent substance. Take note. Efflorescence, the ending part of the spelling CE, is the phenomenon. Why efflorescent? The ending part of the spelling ENT, T, refer to the substances, okay, that lose either some or all of their water of crystallization. So you take note of this. I don't tell you, right? I have told you. So you want to take note of when you are defining the phenomenon efflorescence, and when you are defining the substances that exhibit that phenomenon. For the substances, we refer to them as efflorescent. All right, so what are some examples of chemical salts known to undergo this phenomenon known as efflorescence? A good example of this is our washing soda. Washing soda is sodium triisocarbonate 4 decahydrate. Now, when you expose sodium triisocarbonate 4 decahydrate to the atmosphere, it loses as high as 9 molecules of its 10 water of crystallization. So out of the 10 molecules of water of crystallization in washing soda, if you expose it to the atmosphere, 9 of it will be lost, okay? Be given off to the atmosphere, remaining just 1. So you have something like sodium triisocarbonate 4 monohydrate. Another example of our efflorescent substance or salt is our Glauber's salt. Which compound is called Glauber's salt? Sodium tetraoxosulfate 6 decahydrate. Once again, sodium tetraoxosulfate 6 decahydrate is another example of efflorescent salt. When exposed to the atmosphere, it loses either all or some of its water of crystallization. Now, let us shift our attention to the next phenomenon known as deliquescence. What is deliquescence? Substances that exhibit this phenomenon, what are they called? Deliquescence is a phenomenon whereby certain substances, when exposed to the atmosphere, will absorb moisture from the atmosphere. They will do what? Absorb moisture from the atmosphere and become sticky. Substances which, when exposed to the atmosphere, will absorb moisture but become what? Sticky. A substance that exhibits this phenomenon is known as a deliquescent substance. Deliquescent substance. So you see, the phenomenon is deliquescence. D-E-L-I-Q-U-E-S-C-E-N-C-E. That is a phenomenon. Why the substances that exhibit that phenomenon are called deliquescent substances. D-E-L-I-Q-U-E-S-C-N-T. Let me give you some examples of deliquescent substances. Substances which, if you expose them to the atmosphere, will absorb moisture and become what? Sticky. Most generally, our base, some bases, alkali to be specific, and some salts are deliquescent in nature. So, examples include sodium hydroxide is a deliquescent substance. Potassium hydroxide is a deliquescent substance. What about calcium chloride? It's a deliquescent substance. Magnesium chloride, iron 3 chloride, phosphorus 5 oxide. What about our silica gel? These are examples of deliquescent substances, and you're expected to know them. Okay, like I said, if you're preparing for a professional exam, JAM, WAEC, NECO, external GCE, you are in grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, in advanced level university, right? You need to know these. You need to know them, right? Now, let us talk about the next and last phenomenon that some substances exhibit. This time around, hygroscopy. Hygroscopy. What is this phenomenon? Substances that exhibit hygroscopy, that show this phenomenon, what are they called? Let's explain the concept of hygroscopy. Hygroscopy is a phenomenon whereby some substances, when exposed to the atmosphere, will absorb moisture from the atmosphere and turn to solution. You want to take note of the difference between hygroscopy and deliquescence as a phenomenon that certain substances undergo. You see, both phenomenon, substances absorb moisture from the atmosphere. But the difference is that in hygroscopy, these substances, after absorbing moisture, will turn to solution. Will turn to what? Solution. But in the case of deliquescence, the substances absorb moisture and become sticky. They do not form solution in that case. Hygroscopy. What are substances that undergo this phenomenon called? Substances that exhibit hygroscopy are known as hygroscopic substances. I repeat, substances that exhibit hygroscopy, they are known as what? Hygroscopic substances. I hope you're learning, right? You'll see this in your exam question. Take note. You see it in your exam question. If you're sitting for JAMB and WAEC, like I've mentioned, make sure that you always stay tuned to this channel, GMATS 41. Sleep here. Sleep on this channel. You're going to learn a lot. Okay? Yeah. So, substances that exhibit, that undergo hygroscopy are known as hygroscopic substances. What are some examples of these substances? Concentrated tetraoxosulfate 6 is a good example of a hygroscopic substance. It absorbs moisture from the atmosphere and turns to solution. although tetrasulfate 6 is already in aqueous form on its own anyway. Another example of a hygroscopic substance is calcium oxide. Calcium oxide. It absorbs moisture and turns to solution. Think if calcium oxide absorbs moisture from the atmosphere, usually it turns to calcium hydroxide, right? Yeah, which is a solution. Say based on its own anyway. Another example of hygroscopic substance is sodium trioxonitrate 5. Sodium trioxonitrate 5 is a hygroscopic substance. Okay? Yeah. So we've been able to explain 3 phenomena that substances, right, chemical substances can undergo. We mentioned efflorescence, we talked about hygroscopy, and of course deliquescence. In each case, we got to know what those substances are called. In the case of substances that undergo efflorescence, we call them efflorescent substances. For those that undergo deliquescence, we call them deliquescent substances. And for those that undergo hygroscopy, we call them hygroscopic substances. Stay tuned to this channel. In the next video lesson, we are going to be giving attention to the concept of desiccants. In that video, we are going to give attention to substances that are used as drying agents in the laboratory. Okay, because in a laboratory desiccator, what usually happens, substances are kept in it in order for the substance to be dried, okay, to remove moisture from the substances. So we're going to talk about desiccator, we're going to talk about desiccant. And I must tell you these, that desiccants, they are related to these substances that we've mentioned under the 3 phenomena covered in this video lesson. For example, hygroscopic substances, deliquescent substances, some of them are used as laboratory desiccators. So you're going to learn in that next video substances, gases, to be much more specific, that are dried using some of these deliquescent substances and hygroscopic substances. So you wouldn't want to miss the next class. Therefore, if you're yet to subscribe to this channel, right away smash the subscription icon. Go ahead, turn on the notification bell, select all, so that once I upload that content or come on live, you'll be the very first person to be notified, and then you can take the lesson, right? You can become a channel member on platinum or on diamond level. The higher the level you join, the more benefit you get from this channel. See you in my next video.